You have to have a code that handles every situation that you're in. And like I said, I tried to write in my book that you can get by going to producejustice.com, a sort of, you might say, shabby guideline that you can use to start you on that way. I mean, the thinking is a code of thought, speech, and action. You think, then you speak, then you act. That's the sequence. That's the logical sequence. That's the sequence that has always worked for people who have been successful at anything. They thought about it first, thought about it, and thought about it, and thought about it, and thought about it, and then made the best possible decision with the circumstances they're given to now speak about it and or act on it. And then, if it doesn't work, back to the drawing board and think about it again. Because evidently, your thinking was flawed. But you'll make mistakes, like babies do, trying to learn how to walk. You crawl first, and then you try to learn to walk, and you fall down, and all like that. That's a part of the process. But that's how you do it. That's the code. That's the answer to this question. You just keep trying to go in the correct direction. I think I mentioned to somebody just a few days ago, an old blues song, a line from it. I'm not getting the line correctly the way that it is, I'm sure. There's a lot of things I've forgotten. But it was a blues song by Memphis Slim. It came out in the 1950s. And I think, if I recall correctly, it's a line similar to this. And it said, as you go through life, you can't help knowing. You can always get help, but only the way you're going. And that struck me. That line stood out in a blues song. I learned something from that. I've kept that in mind all these years, that if you start out in a certain direction and you're determined to keep going in that direction, and hopefully it's the correct direction, somebody or something will help you keep going and get where you're going. But you got to do what? You got to start. Even if you're stumbling and fumbling and don't know too much about what you're doing, you start anyway and do the best you can. Use what little bit of intelligence you got to get more intelligence, meaning learning more. Going in the direction of what? The way you're going. And somewhere, somehow, and this has happened to everybody who's been successful, somebody tells you something or joins with you to help you get where you're going. But you've got to start in the direction that you're going. If you're going in the incorrect direction, somebody will help you do that. And you just keep going that direction, and they'll help you go right on off the cliff. Because that's the end of that journey. That's the direction you're going. You're going off the cliff. But if you start down the correct highway of your existence, somewhere along the way, once you start, and just keep going, rain, fog, snow, discouragement, you just keep on keeping on, as they say. Some things or somebody, or some somebodies, usually it's a number of people, in small and large ways, will help you along that way. As you go through life, you can't help knowing you can always get help, but only the way you're going. Memphis Slim.
That's pretty deep right there. That's pretty deep. Say it one more time for us.
Say that, what now?
Say it again for us. That's pretty deep.
As you go through life, and I might be misquoting him. I said that before because my mind is getting stale. As you go through life, you can't help knowing you can always get help, but only the way you're going. And by observing people, in the little time I've been on this planet, I have found that not in all cases, but it seems like to me, in most cases that are successful, that's how it came to be. I mean, whether it's a person starting out to be a drug dealer, they wind up being one, because that's the way they're going, and people will help them. A person starting out to be an electrical engineer or a doctor, or saying that I want to do something that's more constructive than anybody ever did in my own neighborhood, and that person just kept on and kept on and kept on. Next thing you know, they did it. And John Kennedy said what? Hey, you know what? People have been talking about the moon for trillions of years, maybe. I'm going in 10 years or less. How about that? Everybody, including me, what in the world is he saying? Does he know what he's saying? I mean, is he kidding?